Greetings, everyone, and welcome. My name is Shola Ade, also known as Sola Ade, and I am the founder of MBS Complete. I'm here today to talk to you about a couple of things. So, before I even begin, let's go back a little bit because I think it's important for us to lay the foundation. And so, the purpose of these videos is to inform, is to educate, and to support you all in any sort of challenge, experience, life path, understanding that you may be going through. And so, how we're going to do these videos is we're going to break them down into a series of workshops. And in each of those series, we'll have them connect with each other in some way. So that if you don't get as much value from one, the idea is that you can take advantage and get value from another. So this month, we'll be focusing on trust and trauma. Now, like I said, we're going to be breaking it down. So the series in total will be discussing the role of trauma and how to grow through trauma using trust. Discussing what trust is, how to achieve it, how to maintain it, how to understand it, as well as learning about trauma, what that is, how to achieve it, and how to overcome it, how to live with it. Okay? So this week, we're going to be focusing on the basics. People and trust. Okay? Now, as social beings, it is natural for us to build trust. We think about our first relationships, for instance, right? The relationships that we have with our parents and our caretakers. So let's say you're a baby, right? A baby cries and they may be crying for attention. They may be crying for food. They need to be met. And so their way of bringing that to the attention of the caretakers is by crying, by vocalizing that. And they learn that when they cry, they are able to receive and get whatever need they may need to be, or I won't say need, whatever need has to be met, right? And so whether that's attention, whether it's food, whether it's emotional support, they understand that by crying, they get that when the parent responds or when the caretaker responds. And so this is actually where our awareness of what it means to trust others begins. Now, of course, babies don't have the verbal language or the capacity as yet to understand that that's what they're doing. However, as we grow older, we learn that through doing different things, through our actions, through our emotions, we are able to build trust with others. We're able to relate with others, right? And so, again, in the baby example, they learn that their needs will be met, or maybe they don't learn that, right? And so either they learn it or they don't learn it. The fact of the matter is that it happens, and whatever happens when they go down this path of needs met or needs not met, that is basically how they learn to navigate through life. And we'll get a little bit deeper into those two pathways. Again, sounds very simple, but there are complexities that go within that. So, again, through our relationships with others, we learn trust, and we learn about trust with other people as well as our trust of self. Right? And so that's another key part here, this self-trust. Being able to understand yourself and depend on yourself for different things. That is a crucial part of our experience. Because the idea is also that the more you trust others and the more you understand the meaning of trust for yourself, you can also then trust people around you, people in your social networks, people in your school, in your home, in your community. We learn that, right? Now, another example, right? Let's say we have a group of friends and we find that our friend has betrayed us in some way. what happens with that self-trust, first and foremost, is that we may tend to beat ourselves up. We may tend to blame ourselves. And so we might say something like, I should have known. I should have known that that person couldn't be trusted. I should have known, or I should have been more aware of those red flags or those signs, right? And so that impacts our ability to see ourselves as being trustworthy. And then in turn, the flip side with the other people or the other person, is that I shouldn't have trusted them, and then now people can't be trusted. I have to be mindful of how I interact with people because you never know. I can't guarantee that I can trust other people because of this experience that has happened to me. And so, in a lot of ways, these relationships that we build create the narrative that we use to judge ourselves and the narratives that we use to judge others. And it also can frame this experience or this situation where our perceptions about ourselves and others can't be trusted. And so in this process of internalization, we begin to question everything around us. We begin to question everything that we do. We begin to question even the intentions and actions of other people. Now, the interesting thing is that a lot of times when we are living our daily lives, we create this narrative that other people can't be trusted. And that's easier to see. It's easier to recognize when you're in different relationships because there's another person there in front of you or another group of people there in front of you that you can have this outward experience with. The other deeper side of that is that the trust or the lack of trust that we have for self may not always be as apparent. And that's the part of this internalization that gets a little tricky at times, right? And so, we spoke about the side where we can't trust people, we can't trust ourselves. But then there's a flip side, right? There's a flip side to when we are able to trust ourselves. So let's say, for example, we decide that it's time to go to the grocery store. It's time to get more food, right? And so maybe we create a list of the items that we need. We go to the store. We are checking things off of that list. And when we come home, our groceries and our cabinets are full, right? That implants another aspect of trust in ourselves in the sense that, oh, I was able to create this list. I was able to be aware of the things that I needed. Again, here go the needs, right? I was able to be aware of the things that I needed. I made a list. I was able to check things off of the list. And therefore, that means that I can trust my ability to take care of myself, to sustain myself, and to fulfill my needs. And so that builds a level of trust in self. It builds a level of trust even in those grocery stores that we go to, right? Because we are trusting that the store will have everything that we need as well. And maybe if we don't have everything at that store, we trust that at the next store we go to, it'll be there. So again, this aspect of trust can, of course, be geared towards self, and it can be geared towards our greater reality, the reality and our interactions that we have with other people in our lives and as society as a whole, right? Now, again, on the flip side, what happens if we write that list and we get to the store, we buy everything on the list, and then we get home and we see that we missed something? Again, that narrative of, oh man, I should have known. Oh man, I forgot about this. And again, it builds that narrative of maybe I can't trust my judgments. Maybe I can't trust myself. Or maybe we go to the store and we can't find everything that we need in that one store. And so instead of going to another store, we say, can't trust that place. They never have anything that I need. And so again, this narrative about trust or lack of trust is built in, and we internalize it, we take it in, and it again shapes our reality and shapes our lives. Now that we have an understanding of that, there's also the aspect of So how can we begin to undo this lack of trust, whether it's in self, whether it's in community, whether it's in people? How do we begin to undo that? Because again, like I said, it can be very ingrained within us, and it can also be very apparent outside of us. And the more we have those experiences, the more that our narrative shapes our experiences, the more we begin to say, oh, I can't trust anybody. I can't trust this person. I can't trust that person. And then that again shapes our reality. So it can be very challenging at times to undo this aspect of lack of trust. But one thing that we can begin with, and I'll go deeper into this next week, is acceptance, right? Acceptance as well as forgiveness. So first and foremost, acceptance, right? Acceptance is recognizing that some things just happen that way. Even the most disturbing and traumatic things. And we'll get into trauma next time. But in that regard, it's recognizing that it is what it is at times. And even though we may not like it, even though it may not sit well with us, that is the reality, and that is what is happening or what has happened. And another big part of this is also to remember that acceptance is not approval. The idea is that you don't have to like what has happened. You don't have to agree with what is happening. That's not at all what we're saying. We're recognizing that despite us not agreeing and despite us not wanting that to be our reality, it is. And so some people may call this radical acceptance, just flat out, it is what it is. And in that radical acceptance, we are then able to take a step further into freeing up ourselves, right? So again, example, let's say the example of the store. We go to the store, oh man, they don't have the beans that I want. Okay. I don't like that because that means I can't get my beans right now. That means that if I wanted to, or if I had to, I would have to go somewhere else to find those beans, or I have to call somebody to say, hey, can you get those beans? Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I don't like that. Maybe in my mind, this store is supposed to have everything that I need, right? And so in a lot of ways, that shapes what we call resistance, right? It shapes the resistance when we are at a point where we're saying, oh man, they don't have this, they don't have that, I can't do this, I can't do that. We are resisting the reality that is. Because the reality is that they don't have it. They just don't have it. That store, for whatever reason, again, we don't have to approve of the reasons. We don't have to even know or understand the reasons. The point is they don't have it. And so going back to that freedom, right, taking that step more into that freedom realm, it's okay, now that I've accepted that they don't have what I need here, what am I going to do? I have the option to maybe talk to the manager and say, hey, I recognize that you don't have this. Is it going to come? When will it come? So you have the option to ask more questions, to gain more information. You also have the option to maybe go somewhere else. Go to the store that maybe is known for selling beans. Maybe you go on your phone and you search up, what store sells these beans that's so special, right? Going through that process of, okay, well, what are my options? Now that you've accepted the reality, look at the options that you have. What are your options? Now, again, it doesn't mean that you can't be upset about it. It doesn't mean that you're not going to naturally have some emotional reaction to it. What it does mean is that by accepting, you have the choice to respond in a different way. In a way that maybe you haven't thought of before because you've accepted that that is the reality, right? And so let's now go into forgiveness. So with forgiveness, again, that's another choice that we can take after we get to acceptance. And so with forgiveness, it allows us to learn from these experiences that happen without having shame or blame. Right? So with the shame, that's more internalized, that's more about us. We feel shameful that we made the choice to go to the store. We should have known better. That could be shame, right? Or there's the blame. The blame is that store was supposed to have what I needed. Blaming other people, right? In those scenarios, again, is the choice to still get what we need? No. We don't. We may not get what we need by engaging in that blame game or the shame game, right? What forgiveness does, it says, okay, I made the choice to go to this store for a number of reasons. Maybe I've been here before and they have had what I needed in the past. And maybe they just don't have it today. So I'm going to give myself a little grace, a little kindness, forgiveness for choosing this store. And also, I'm going to forgive the store for not having what I need at that moment in time. And so, again, you release that blame, that shame that can sometimes compound and put blinders on, right? Now, again, it doesn't necessarily remove the accountability or the responsibility. It acknowledges it. But it also allows you to have the freedom to make a different intentional choice the next time. Again, here's that freedom piece. Acceptance allows you to have freedom of choice. Forgiveness also allows you to have freedom of choice that is well informed and intentional based on that experience that you had. And so the next time you're in this situation, maybe you call the store first and say, hey, do you have this in your aisles? Maybe you go to a different store, the store that you went to the second time you went out looking for these beans because you know that they had them. And so again, it allows you freedom to do different things, to have different actions, to have different reactions and responses to your experience. So let's put it all together, right? Trust, acceptance, forgiveness, they're all related to yourself. They're all related to your relationships and how you experience the world and other people, right? And so again, one of the keys that I highlighted here was having that internal dialogue with self or having that external dialogue with someone else. Being able to express what is going on so that you can then be more clear about it. Express the lack of trust that may be there for yourself or other people. Accept the lack of trust that is there for yourself or other people. And then also forgive that lack of trust if that is there for yourself and other people. So again, they're related, right? Now, because they're related, it does not mean that they're any much easier to achieve than, let's say, I don't know, picking up your phone. That seemed pretty easy, right? Never said that trust, acceptance, and forgiveness was easy. It can be challenging to achieve. It can take multiple steps. It can take multiple processes to get to, right? And so the point of us even breaking this down is so that we can allow ourselves the space to fully understand and understand these different concepts so that when the time does come for us to put that at the forefront of our mind, we're able to do it from a well-informed position. We are able to do it from a position of power, of empowerment, because we now understand and we now know what these concepts are. And so the more we practice, right? They say practice makes perfect. What is perfect? We won't get there. But the point is that practice allows you to build that muscle. It allows you to get familiar with these processes. It allows you to take them head on and face them and again learn. learn and learn and learn from them. And so next week, we'll break it down a little bit further, and we'll also tie it in and see how it can be applied to other concepts, other complex concepts, such as trauma. Okay? So I look forward to seeing you all next time. I look forward to sharing space with you all, and I thank you again for showing up for yourself. Have a wonderful day.